March 17th, 2020, and you know why you're here. Andolin totally made me laugh right before I started this. Anyway, so hey, let's kick this off right and introduce the players. I'm Jersar, a PvP Padawan.
I'm Winstead, who's just wondering why I'm here.
Hey, and I'm Andolin, and we're gonna fix why the cams just decided to go crazy.
I'm Cirra. I have no control over this, but I'm having a really good time. And thank you for having me.
Very much so. Thank you very much, Sarah, for coming on. And we are really excited to have you here, despite our technical issues and
technical difficulties.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Andolin, you do this for a living now, right?
It's all good.
I have an opportunity to rib Andolin. I'm going to take it. So I'm sorry.
Enough. No, don't be sorry. It is what it is. But so normally I don't do this, but hey, why not? Let's roll into this. So Sarah, so you're here because we were chatting. We were chatting a couple weeks ago, trying to figure some stuff. You're trying to help educate me on Mythic Dungeons and that. And I know there's some people in the Twitch chat that know who you are, but there's some people listening at home right now that probably don't. So can you tell them about yourself and what you do? And yeah.
So my name's Cirra. I was the healer and captain for the team that won the 2018 MDI, which is the sort of dungeon equivalent of AWC. I did some casting for that in 2019, and just over this weekend, I ran the, I think it's safe to say, community first Mythic Plus MDI equivalent, the little tournament thing.
I would say,
that's me.
Excellent.
Just a small feat. Just a
one.
No, you guys did an amazing job too. I watched for a bit of it. I mean, I had to dice between you guys and what Method was doing over for their Mayhem series, so it was kind of a yin and a yang for me. But you guys did a great job. I have to say the quality, the production quality was very good. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you very much. We worked very hard for about, I think, 4 months trying to put the whole thing together.
Wow. And you guys got some Blizzard help there too, because you guys got access to the TR realm to run that, didn't you?
Blizzard have been nothing short of incredible with what they've given us. Like, this PvE Esports doesn't work without Tournament Realm, having everyone on that level playing field. And on top of that, if we can't fly around the dungeons like they can on the MDI, we have no way of picking up the players' feeds. So we have to get them stream as well. Everything on TR just makes it 20 times easier. So we are insanely grateful to them for doing that, because it was amazing.
Yeah, I share that same sentiment.
I can only imagine. That'd be interesting, be able to like swim and fly through a dungeon as people are playing the game. That'd be kind of cool. Anyway.
Oh, so that's how they do the camera. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You just have a dead character, basically, that has free reign over all space and everything. Huh.
Yeah, so they have a GM who has caused problems in the past because they used to count as a player in the party, so they could get targeted by mechanics in the early days of MDI. Luckily, that's changed now. They are no longer part of the group, but they fly around. They just zoom in first person and get all those nice.
Nice.
Excellent.
Now we get all the secrets in the behind the scenes. All right. So the secret is to become a GM first. Yeah,
well, we did see those job postings from Blizzards that they were looking for quality control, right?
Yeah. Actually, there's been just on a note on that. Have you guys seen how many job postings are coming out lately from Blizzard? Like,
no.
I know they're in a dev cycle. Yeah. There's quest designer. There's some production stuff. There's some Q&A people. I think there was. Hey, yeah, there's a whole slew, and I know part of it's because they're in ramp up production style, so they're bringing people in for that. But it seems like it seems almost like they are hiring back some of the people that they fired a year ago.
That's probably good.
Yeah, one hopes. Anyway, oh yeah, encounter testers. Thank you very much, Geek. That's true. There's some encounter people. So if you like to do encounters and you want to go on and help test them, done. All right. So now that we look beautiful again on Twitch stream, because Andalin worked his magic in real time,
We're good, boys.
Why don't we move into what we've been up to since our last show? And I want to start with you, Cirra. What have you been up to in the last couple weeks?
Last couple weeks. So my life's been dominated by Keystone Masters. Pretty much, I haven't had that much time for anything else. Outside of game, me and my sister went to go and see a show in London called Be More Chill. That was insanely exciting. I finally got round to upgrading my cloak in Visions on my alts. I don't know how I found time to do that, but
wow.
Yeah, I've kind of been ignoring them. I'm really bad at maintaining alts. Like my main's really good, and my alts just, I'm sorry, alts. They get it. Other than that, it's just been KSM, KSM, KSM.
Well, and fair enough. I mean, that takes a lot of time. Anytime you're running an organization or a tournament like that, that definitely. I don't think people understand how much it takes to lead up to in pre-design and then actually doing the event. Like, there's a lot of effort there. So, kudos to you, Andalin. How about you? What have you been up to these last couple of weeks?
Been busy. It's been a lot of fun though. We've been doing a lot of stuff over at the Method channel. We're prepping for the Method Mayhem Finals, which is coming up this weekend and the following weekend after that. So we're gonna have some really cool people up on the kind of hosting and bringing you the show. And we're also going to have some of the best showdowns that people have seen in PvP all year. So it's going to be an excellent precursor point to the quickly approaching AWC season. So come check us out for that. We've also been working on putting together a lot of different shows and like different podcasts like this one with some people with a little bit more star power than you and I. But that's fine.
Wait, we're stars. What are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about star power, like the beep, 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 beep. Yeah.
Oh, you're saying I have to start playing Super Mario Brothers again? That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, that was 7 days ago, so you're a week late on that.
Oh,
sorry,
man. Hey, quick question though. What have you been doing in game though? Because I've seen you've been logged in a few times playing World of Warcraft.
Right? Yes. So I've been coordinating tournaments.
Oh, you're just doing that? Okay.
Yeah.
And then you're playing Diablo on the side afterwards? Because I've seen you on that. I've been seeing you doing Torment 7, I think I saw you in.
Yeah, that's right. I tried to get a quick season 20 rush just to see if I could get lucky. Maybe, get the right pieces, climb up the barbarian hardcore leaderboards real quick.
Nice.
And we got to like 400 and then we just kind of petered out. So
all right.
The luck was not with this one.
The RNG gods were not with you.
Yes.
I feel you. That play. I love Diablo for what it is, but if people want to complain about RNG gear, go play Diablo for a bit.
Yeah. Just
saying. All right, Winstead, how about you? What have you been up to these last couple of weeks, bud?
So I'm still working on my PvP project, trying to put that together. Andalin and I, after our last show, messed around with it, and I believe you agreed with me that about 30% is a good cutoff point, where a character at 30% more powerful than another character is good to just utterly smash them, but if they're really skilled, to still be semi-competitive. So that's there. And then I have utterly abandoned live. I'm just...
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, no. So I'm back on Classic. My Horde Warrior is now level 50.
Okay.
And then, I decided to go ahead and jump ship, and I went back to the Alliance. And so now I've got a level 17 or 18 Alliance Warrior on Classic that I'm enjoying. Going blacksmithing and mining on him. Queued for Battleground, but it never popped. So just waiting for that to happen. It'll be fun when it does. Okay. But yeah, no. So I'm enjoying. I mean, Classic is just such a different game. It's a much more relaxed, much more chill, much more. What do I want to do rather than what do I have to do? per se. And so I've been really enjoying that. And my buddy re-rolled on Alliance as well. So now we have a warrior healer combo. And so now it's basically we log on and it's like, what dungeon do we want to do? And we get insta queues for, DPS and that. So yeah, so that's what's happening. And then I am chomping at the bit to get into Alpha if Shadowlands pops. I really want to dig into the PvP and try and make that as
both,
good
man.
as can be, because
Yeah.
PvP is suffering right now. I watched some of the VODs of the arena tournaments, and it's just so all over the place.
Oh man, I actually kind of enjoyed it. I kind of liked it.
No, and this is where it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
But I'm sensing a lot of frustration from the actual players.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, there was this awesome match where it was a 3v3 turned into a 2v2, turned into a 1v2, and then the 1v2 won.
Yeah, Cirra.
So the solo player killed the other two.
He didn't even kill him. He didn't even kill the Holy Paladin. The Holy Paladin just died to his own corruption.
Yeah, okay, so that makes more sense, because I'm
he
watching
got on a
this
bubble
game
and he just
like,
got smacked in the face from the thing from behind.
I have no idea what's happening in these games right now, because there's so much random damage and craziness happening that it's fun to watch. I'm not going to dispute that, but I can only imagine that playing it must be incredibly frustrating. Where you get that, we're 2v1, we won the match, and then all of a sudden you're dead.
Yep. Now hold on. Now, Cirra, this happened during the Mythic though, the Keystone Masters, because there was some people that were running corruption. They killed themselves too, right? Like it's not just AWC, it's not just arenas that this is happening. This is
PvE is feeling you as well. We got some of the average stats for how much corruption people were running across the tournament. Healers and tanks generally sticking below 40 corruption, making sure they avoid that thing from beyond. The DPSs were just getting it every time. But they were going, we're going to go up to 60. Some of them went up to 80 at some point as well. And there were one or two times where there were clips linked in our Discord of people just saying, in their practices going, I can't live this. This needs to be fixed. I'm dying.
I can't live this.
And then everyone just going, well, if you can't live it, take your corruption off. And they go, but I need my corruption to do damage. That's how I do damage now.
Yeah.
That's what do you value? Your damage or your life?
Exactly. And I think that's something that too often gets lost in all this, because it's too hard. People literally can't be asked to figure out a balance. So it's easier just to say, system's broken, it's trash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that there's no kernels of truth in that. There's a lot of truth in aspects of it, but I see all too often just a gross over packaging of just systems trash. Because I love the concept of allowing someone, even from a PvP standpoint, to where you can almost maybe find a win condition by exploiting a higher corruption value, or exploiting someone who is running a higher corruption value with a spite trinket. So I think that there's a lot of good in the concept, but the tuning is where I draw issue with. You know what I mean? So to say the system is rough because of tuning, I'm right there with you. But it's not a trash system.
All I know is that it's just so depressing and really draining that I could really use some energy in having to deal with all of this. And if you find yourself needing a pick-me-up.
Not sponsored, by the way.
Not sponsored whatsoever. Dude, I wish.
Trying to be sponsored by Monsters.
If we had a chance,
you're listening.
If we had a chance, it's now.
It's very.
Oh my goodness!
All right, I'm ready for it. So, yeah, I'm ready to deal with corruption now that I've had my monster.
Yeah, you ready to deal with kidney stones too?
Yeah.
Hey, I don't drink that many.
Okay.
He's gonna get kidney stones just from playing Classic as much as he's been playing.
Probably.
Oh man, I have been so enjoying Classic. Anyway, but besides what I've been enjoying, that's what I've been up to the past couple of weeks. That's my feeling. Let's go ahead and move into our next section where we.
Hold on.
Oh, okay.
I want to talk about what I've been up to.
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh, here I am jumping the gun. So much energy, I'm just ready to go.
So, I picked up my alt tank, my lonely Draenei paladin, and I slapped on some gear and got him just over 400 level, and decided I'd start running some mythics. And so I actually I reached out to the Perky Pugs Discord, and they were amazing. A group of them actually grabbed onto me and ran me through some dungeons where they let me tank it. And but then they're like, okay, go over here. Oh, now next time, yeah, okay, this is Mythic 0, so it doesn't really matter. But next time, if you go up over that way, then you get to skip all. And so they're showing me some of these little neat little tricks for pathing that, which was really, really awesome. So shout out to them. And for PvP, I had actually laid off of PvP for a bit, and I decided that I was going to try something. And so for 2 weeks straight, I did just the PvP invasions, and I was able to cap out on my conquest for 2 weeks in a row just by doing that.
Nice.
Without doing, I didn't have to step. So I literally have been capping my conquest without doing, well, really PvP. I've just been killing mobs. So PvPing by PvE. So
I want you to know that depresses me.
Yeah, me too.
You know, that, hey, if you want to, cap your PvP, then you should be performing player versus player.
Yeah, you would hope. So I'd heard something about it, so I decided I'd give it a shot and see what I could do. And yeah, I can literally just cap my conquest points and get my conquest gear. And I mean, obviously, it's lower level, but I can get all my transmog stuff, so that's fine, right? If that's what you're worried about. So that's kind of cool. And then also I want to give a shout out again to Zen, because right near the end, I think it was Sunday night, he reached out to me. He was running some Keystones, and so he put me into a plus 15 Mechagon, and that was a little nuts. From doing Mythic Zeros and not really doing anything else and not really knowing dungeons to suddenly doing a plus 15 Keystone on my Destro Warlock. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I was simply responding to deadly boss mods in my ears telling me what to do. It was a little crazy. So, all right. So that's that. That's what we've been up to. I would like to take a quick pause though, because apparently Winstead's camera has been doing some funky stuff, and
I'm gonna
just doing a quick little reset here.
Garrison, if you could too. Yours has been fuzzy ever since we started.
Okay.
So hopefully that fixes it with a little bit of a. Nope, that did not fix it. Let's see if I can do a little bit more of a hard reset. So we'll.
Man, this is the part where I actually.
It's got into the stream. It gets everywhere. Nazoth, man, leave us alone.
How much corruption do you wear in there, Cirra?
Me, I'm 38. I'm never going for that thing from beyond. He can do one. I'm not interested. Leave me alone.
Okay, so that's a hard reset on the camera. Hopefully that fixes that little.
Looking much better from my point of view. All right.
Well, we all know that to make it look the best, I should just turn it off so you don't have to look at me.
None of us are going to say that.
Not going to lie. Not gonna lie.
Well, I mean, come on. For the stream, you cannot deny that face right there is not the most glorious face that you could possibly behold. Just saying.
It's a face of authority.
It is.
That is, yeah.
It makes me
a little scary.
It makes me really appreciate the true value of work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It
I
makes
still
me feel
remember
like
when
work
you
is
walked.
superior to everything.
Hey, Andalin.
Yeah.
Remember when he was walking around the first night at BlizzCon wearing that outfit for cosplay?
Yep.
And we almost lost him in the Wowhead party, and then we were like, just had to look for the fuzzy hat walking around. That was glorious.
People loved it.
Yeah, it was.
Anyway.
All right.
Moving on.
Let's get into our next segment: Need, Greed, and Pass.
Oh yeah.
This likely won't be a clean fight, so keep your distance, eh?
Alrighty, let's do it. Sorry, I had
Production-
a little Red Army choir kind of playing in the background during that.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna cut this out, but just for everybody listening on Twitch chat, I'm not gonna lie. Every time I see Winston in that hat, immediately I hear the Hunt for Red October theme song starting to play in the back of my head. All right. So in this segment, one of the hosts will pose a scenario with 3 options related to WoW. The participants need to decide which option they will need, greed, and which one they'll pass on. So let the hilarity commence as we decide what we will need, greed, and pass. Now, before I start this, I am going to caveat. I'm going to throw it also to Twitch chat and listeners at home. So play along, and in Twitch chat, by all means, give your answers there. And from home, email us in, technicallypvp@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at technically_pvp. All right. So this week, it's my turn. And since we're going to be talking mythics, I decided I would come up with a mythic question. So we already have mythic raids and mythic dungeons. So my question to you guys is, what next are we going to mythify? Your choices are pet battle dungeons, world events, and by world events I mean the week-long events. So like the one we just had for the for Valentine's Day, right?
Okay.
And those kind of things.
Community events like Brewfest and stuff like that.
Exactly. The big holidays.
Okay.
Okay.
Third choice, Brawlers Guild. So I'll say it again. Pet battle dungeons, world events, and Brawlers Guild. I'll let you guys volunteer as to who goes first. Which one are we going to turn to mythics first?
I'm gonna go Brawlers Guild. I'm a fan of
Alright.
Brawlers Guild.
Okay.
I'm a fan of those little personal challenges. Set your own goal. I'm not sure what a mythic Valentine's Day would be. Like, how would they make that? I don't know. That just sounds like very aggressive to me. Like, it's Valentine's Day and I'm setting it to mythic. Like, what does that mean?
Mythic
just
Noble
terrifies
Garden, guys. Let's go.
It means
I'm gonna find
epic
so many
love
Easter eggs.
rocket. A mythic love rocket. We already know they don't really exist, but
The mythic love rocket is a myth.
mythic love rocket. It's a myth. Doesn't exist.
All right. So Cirra, I like it. So you're gonna pick need then on Brawlers Guild. So the other choices though, you still have the other ones you have to need and greed on. Or you need to greed and pass on, sorry.
I'd probably say I'd greed on the world events, just because I want to see what what would they actually do with it? How do you take those up another level? And then pets, in all honesty, I don't care about pets. I know people love the pets. I'm not bothered. It's the least interesting thing for me. They're out of here.
Yeah,
Pass.
Sure.
that's fine. One person's challenge is another person's
Potpourri.
obsolescence. Yeah, potpourri.
Yeah.
All right. Winstead, you look like you're chomping at the bit there.
Yeah.
I'm actually chomping to just pass on all 3 because I utterly and this is nothing against the mythic
Alt
plus
F4.
people, okay? But I'm pretty mythiced out.
Really?
So, yeah, no,
This is
I
the
really
classic
enjoyed.
guy, mind you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the heroic dungeons and stuff, where it was just incredibly insanely difficult, and the goal was to just be able to succeed.
Okay.
Let alone try and do it in a certain amount of time. But regardless of that, so for this particular scenario, I'd actually need on the pets because
Okay.
I actually enjoy pet battles. There is a great little trick if you're leveling, you can use pet battles if you've got a good group of pets that you can use consistently to get a quest amount of experience for winning a PvP pet battle. And so you can just be out grinding or doing a quest, and then all of a sudden you have an opportunity to spend 2-3 minutes to get another full quest rank of experience, and if you were to make a mythic form of that and allow it to gain you more experience, I would definitely be all in.
Okay.
Next, I would say Greed on the Brawlers Guild, because I do like that that type of personal content where you are able to push yourself higher against the computer. I do enjoy that. I love the Mage Tower. Love the Brawlers Guild. It can be a very fun thing to do. And then pass on the world quest, because right now I just don't like any modern systems. Period.
Okay.
What,
back
you
in
say
classic,
world
guys.
quests?
Yeah, pass on.
Oh, world
pass on the
events.
Mythic.
Okay.
World events.
Yeah, pass.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Pass
I
on.
was like, world quests? What?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Mythic.
That's how
Shit.
little he cares. Doesn't even want to know the name. Don't even talk to me about it.
It's
Just
totally indifferent. I'm sorry. Just like anything that they're trying to do to keep me in live right now is just not working per se.
All right.
You know,
Interesting. All right, handling.
pets are fun.
So I was gonna need on the pet battles, but Winstead decided to do that, so I'm gonna greed on the pet battles. This is why I think that
You're
the
a
need.
monster.
But not sponsored. Oh my gosh. I think that the Brawlers Guild has a lot of potential. With like if you were to mythicify it, right? Mm-hmm. So what that tells me that is that you're somehow getting more rewards. It harkens back to that Mage Tower type of thing where you're trying to do a certain challenge within a certain kind of framework. Maybe it's time, maybe it's like without taking a certain amount of damage, maybe without dying, whatever that is. And if you do that, there's increased rewards, right? Maybe unique rewards. So I think something like that gives a little bit more value to the Brawlers Guild, because I bet you if I went and sampled a population of WoW's player base at 100 players, I'd be very surprised if I got back more than 10, let alone 5, who had said they've done Brawlers Guild content before.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, with the Brawlers Guild, I mean, like with the Mage Tower, all you had to do was offer a title and a cosmetic reward, and that just people drove themselves crazy with the Mage Tower trying to get those things. You don't have to you get a new piece of gear that's going to make you stronger. It's like, no, man, I just want to show that I can do it.
Well, not just that, but also put it into a limit so that it won't exceed the expansion that it was put into. I think that's really what did it. It was the cosmetic reward plus it was time limited.
Time gated, yeah.
Time gated.
That's true.
All right.
Yeah, no, I'm all in on that.
Okay. Oh shoot! I guess it's my turn then.
I guess so.
So, I have to admit, it was hard when I was coming up with this. I was trying to figure out what I was going to say, and I'm going to go with the Brawlers Guild Mythic. I'm going to need on that. The idea of like having a more epic, difficult version of Brawlers Guild would just be that much awesome, that much more awesomer. I'm gonna greed on the world quest only because it's under the assumption
world events,
not
the
world
quests.
events. Wow, I just pulled the Winstead. The world events. Because and it's under an assumption. It's under assumption that if with the world events they had the what a long strange trip it's been, which gave you the Violet Proto Drake, and that thing was pretty awesome. So if they were able to make it a higher challenge, imagine what that new reward mount would look like. And assuming that would be awesome, I would like to try that.
Sure.
Just to get a mythic leveled Violet Proto Drake. And I'm kind of with Cirra on that about the pet battles. I mean, Winstead, you can level them all you want. I've tried. I can't. I just can't pet battle.
You're just too old for Pokemon.
I'll wear that.
You can never be too old for Pokemon. That's not true. Pikachu is for everyone.
But
This is a true
obviously,
statement.
Garrison is having problems getting into Pokemon. Because I mean,
He just hasn't found the right one yet. Once he finds a starter he likes,
Gotta catch them all,
you can
man.
get him.
Gotta catch them all.
You guys are horrible. The worst thing is that my kids are actually into Pokemon, and the local Pokemon leagues all got shut down because of the coronavirus.
All right,
So
here we go.
we have like nothing to do for.
Well, you know, it's just Garrison. You just have to want to be the best, like no one ever was.
right. Here we go. Quick need greed pass. What's Garrisar's starter Pokemon? Geodude, Clefairy, or Ponyta?
I don't even know what any of those are.
I would say Geodude because
Yep.
Geodude is
It's
also
the right
hairless.
answer. It's the right answer. It's Geodude.
No idea what you just talked about. But that's okay. But hey, instead of talking about what events my kids can't do for Pokemon, why don't we talk about what our listeners can do in WoW PvP?
All right, let's do it.
All right. Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop ass?
Let's do it.
Like I practiced it. All right. So, upcoming WoW PvP events. Obviously, there's going to be the link for the challenge. I'm kind of come to the decision though that this is going to be the last time I'm going to put the challenge up here because it seems like it's always kind of an after the fact, and everybody uses it to create brackets, but nobody ever uses it to publish or like preemptive. So I'm going to take it out. But hey, by all means, if anybody wants to run something, it's a very active site. There's always a bunch of stuff going on there. I actually know Flarkness. He was on our show here. He's been doing his his Synergy 3v3 tournaments over on that site. So if you want to go back and see who won on those, by all means, check it out. Great times. Again, Dalaran Gaming, he's been doing his 5v1, 1v1 duels. So keep an eye out over at twitter.com/Dalaran_rogue. And he actually he's been streaming quite a bit for PvE stuff and PvP stuff of his own. So now, Andelin, you were mentioning this about the meth head. Wow,
What?
my mouth having problems.
The what?
The meth head. The method
You just
mayhem
created an
3v3
entirely new.
series.
You just created an entirely new fan base. If you are a Method fan, you are now a meth head.
I think I know
You're
a
now a
lot
meth
of
head.
We've
fan
just
bases of
coined
that
that
up
term.
here. And,
Boom.
yeah, we got a lot of them up here in Hamlin County, let me tell you.
What have I just created? Oh my goodness! All right,
Yeah.
into
Start writing some things down here.
copyright it now. So there's the NA finals you guys have scheduled this coming weekend on the 21st, and then the EU finals over on the 27th. And again, these ones are the invite only. This is based off of the points you decided to allocate based on the last two regional tournaments you guys ran, correct?
That's right. Top 16 teams from each region.
Nice.
Brackets should be up later this week for NA, so
Nice.
that'll be interesting. And then that's the plan. Top 16 teams starting at 12
Nice.
o'clock noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, or 9 a.m. Pacific, sorry.
Yep.
It's not TV.
Cool.
So.
Looking forward to watching. And following that, there's a link also that we have for the XP off 39 level Twink tournament. Date is still to be determined. I think they're still trying to get some more people sign up. So if you feel like joining in on a level 39 Twink tournament on live servers, go over to xpoff.com. Link's going to be in the show notes. And by all means, check out what they have going on over there and sign up. Now, there's this great person. He's actually in our Twitch chat tonight, but I want to give a shout out to Des Mephisto. I think he has 42 warriors now. He has literally got, he's got power leveling of warriors down pat. But autism is dear to his heart, and with April the 2nd being Autism Awareness Day, he is hosting an autism awareness campaign throughout the whole month over on his channel. So if you guys want, go check him out. You can follow him on Twitter at Desmephisto, and find him over on Twitch. He's usually up there. He has a few events. I think 19 days of April for events to raise awareness for this. One specifically that I am really intrigued in is he's trying to plan a 40v40 Warrior Brawl on the NA servers on the 12th of August at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So go over, check him out. He has through his Twitch chat, through his Twitter, he has a Discord. You can go and sign up over there if you're interested, and it's gonna be epic. Just imagine 40 warriors horde, 40 warriors alliance clashing on the battlefield somewhere on Azeroth. It's gonna be epic. Also, if you want to check out any of it, if you want to check, if you want to check out the other events he has, go over to the Warcraft Radio Discord in the Community Creation channel, and you'll find a Google Drive document there where it has a list of everything else that he is planning to do. There's power leveling. He's trying to break a Guinness Book of World Records. He's trying to do some raids. I think warrior only raids. Like, go check it out. So, and if you're interested, like I said, he is doing this as a charity and a fundraiser. So go and participate over at his Twitch channel. That's all I have to say about that. Following up on that, is the official Blizzard Esports scheduled. So we're coming up to it. Starting the 11th of April is the start of the MDI. So it's going to be Europe and Asia Cup number 1 on the 11th, the America Cup number 1 on the 18th, and it's just going to cycle every week after that, straight through into May. So I'm pretty excited about this. Anybody who here is actually planning to go over to actually schedule a time for YouTube to go and watch these? I'm just kind of curious. Out of the 4 of us.
Oh yeah, I will be.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people who can't be asked to go to a different platform, so I'm gonna need someone to remind me. But yeah. Also, I wanted a quick update there. I think you just gave the dates for the MDI. Because the Arena World Championship Cup doesn't start until May.
Yep.
Those start on the 22nd.
Okay.
I did just say the MDI stuff. But yes.
Okay. Cool.
Winstead, are you? Actually, I think you're up there. Are you planning on watching some MDI stuff throughout April and May?
You're putting me in an awkward spot, Garrison, because if you've been a long-time listener of the show, you know my feelings towards the MDI. And so I probably won't be watching it.
No worries.
But I'm interested to learn more about it as we discuss it today.
But your wife likes it though, doesn't she?
My wife actually does enjoy the MDI. She does. She's a pally tank, and so she does enjoy, seeing how people do the tanking, because tanks aren't always viable in PvP, and it's something that she's able to latch onto and stuff. And I'll heal her for Mythic Dungeons and stuff like that, but it's definitely not my cup of tea. I prefer cans of Monster.
Okay. I'm actually concerned we're going to get a cease and desist from Warcraft Radio. Right.
Free publicity, man. I mean,
Cirra, are you participating in the MDI at all?
I'm looking to.
Okay.
I'm finalizing my team. Sign-up's close very soon, so hopefully we're gonna get there in time. But that is my plan. Should I get back into it?
What are you looking for?
So we're just finalizing that last DPS spot. Kind of looking for that flex guy, demon hunters, rogues, DKs, those kind of things. BM hunters.
BM hunters.
They pump.
Yeah. They are the new addition to the MDI, which is probably
Yes.
getting nerfed very, very
They are the
soon.
lords of the charts and the meters.
Wow.
Mm.
That's interesting. Huh. Actually, now you mentioned it, I remember watching it was one of the boss fights. The hunter was being targeted all the time for a charge, and at the last second, the hunter would feign death and would completely dismat. Then the charge wouldn't go off. And then, yeah, interesting. Okay, well, so hey, listeners, if you are feeling that you're up to the challenge, at the end of the follow to the end of the show, and you will hear Cirra's socials. I'm sure you could probably reach out and submit your application to join his team for running in a MDI level challenge. All right. So one last thing, you are correct, Andelin. So I did mention the April 11th being the first for the EU Asia, 18th being America Cup #1, and that goes straight to the 16th of May. Obviously, like I said, flip flopping across the weekends, and then starting on the 22nd of May, we have the start of the AWC with EU Cup #1. And then on the 23rd is NA Cup #1. So that is going to be an action-packed weekend right into May. And I mean, with everything going on with the coronavirus, chances are we're not going to be going camping. We're going to be sitting at home watching some AWC. So I'm actually looking forward to that.
Here we go.
All right. Well, since that has covered what we have been up to and everything that's coming up, why don't we roll into our subject analysis and actually pick Cirra's brain about MDI?
I'm gonna light you up, sweet cheeks.
Let's go.
Indeed. So, the whole idea behind this whole episode, and we're a little slow getting there, but it's to talk to Cirra here, the god of Mythic Dungeons, talking about the esports side of it, and maybe actually get a little bit more of an idea of the nuances of what it takes to actually run these high-level keys in the Mythic Dungeons. So, interesting thing, though, these are probably one of the newest additions of challenging content into World of Warcraft, right? I mean, they're only added in 7.03 for Legion. And then right up behind that, Blizzard, I think they saw exactly how much potential was behind that, and they started powerhousing the Mythic. I think it was Mythic Dungeon Invitational at first, and now it's the Mythic Dungeon International. But they immediately latched on and started seeing what dungeon running could do for the esports, and it's turned into a pretty viable esport. Would you guys not agree?
Absolutely. It's right up there in terms of viability and it's like throughput and analytics as the AWC.
Yeah, no, it is getting more views than Arena Championships. There's no denying it.
Indeed. I think the AWC has been, I think it's been almost quadrupling the viewership of what the AWC has been getting. I think.
The MDI.
Or the MDI has been quadrupling what AWC gets. But so Cirra, I just want to, what was your decision in taking from being a player in MDI to then doing the Keystone Masters and doing a community version of it? Like, what led you from playing it to doing that?
Yeah. So when my team won in 2018, the next thing that was coming up for us was going to be BlizzCon. And that was just like a little sort of show match, just a little bit of fun. And that was about, I think, 3 months away. And then we said, okay, cool. So what's going to be after that? And at that point, sort of MDI's future hadn't necessarily been decided. Like, it was obviously doing really well. So I think it was inevitable something was going to happen. But we didn't know what it was going to be, when it was going to be, how big it was going to be. And so I said, oh, hey, you know what would be fun? It'd be really cool if, like, me and one of the other teams, we got together and did like a friendly, like in football, you know, just a bit of a on stream, bit of fun, just see what happens. And we sort of went, well, hold on a minute. If we can do just one for a bit of fun, we can probably do like another one and make it like, you know, like an hour-long thing. And then sort of went, well, if we can do that, we can probably do a bit. And then it just sort of spiraled, and we went, hey, you know what? Let's just commit it. You know, we've seen what people have done with PvP and how that community scene is thriving. Like, you've just mentioned about 7 different events that are going on, and there are so many people doing so many great things. And because, MDI and dungeon running is so new, no one's really had that much time to do anything. And so we went, hey, let's try and be the first and see if we can put something on and help grow the scene and make it even bigger and better than it is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, so just on that, so this last event you just did, how many teams actually signed up?
The final count was 137 teams, and it was bordering, I think, 800 people signed up, which was mind-blowing. Like, so
Wow.
for comparison, right, the last event that we did the Summer Showdown, and that was 4 teams. And that was me going around to my friends saying, hey, please, will you do this? I know it's a pain. You have to, like, roll keys on live, and please, I'm begging you, I want to make it this cool thing. And people going, okay, you know what? Just shut you up, I'll do it, right? Get off my back, I'll do your stupid thing. And we had
The power
4
of being
teams.
annoying. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this time to have 137 is like it's insane.
That's
Absolutely
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that. But you said, I mean, so you said that there's over 100, there's over 800 players though. 130 teams at 5 people a team.
Well, this is the thing.
math
We
doesn't
did
quite-
something slightly different from the MDI. So we allowed 6 men, a 6-man roster for everyone.
Okay.
So one of the things that the more I don't want to call them the casual scene, but the like not try hard, no lifey guys have said for a long time in MDI is, we have IRL, we have work, we have jobs. Sometimes we can't get 5 people together, but we still want to participate. We still feel we can be competitive. We just need an extra body. Like, we just need someone to come in, and I'm not 100% sure why Blizzard hasn't adopted it yet. I feel that would be good.
Yeah.
That's why we want to try it out, see maybe if there's just a logistical reason why having that extra player just doesn't really work, or if players just didn't really use it or care.
Maybe. That's an interesting, because I noticed that as well. Where on the AWC it's minimum 3, maximum 4, but over at the MDI it's just 5 players. So that's interesting. Did you guys do the same thing that the MDI is doing with like the kind of the pick me up section too? So like if a person signs up but doesn't, the free agent idea, did you guys use the same thing? Or
we didn't officially. We did say we were very lax on the team swapping rules. We kind of said, look, if Blizzard have vetted you, and again, massive shout out to Blizzard, they vetted over 800 players for a community tournament.
Yeah.
Like they devoted their time and they gave us way more than they probably should have done. But they vetted all these people, and we basically said, if someone's gone through the Blizzard vetting process, then we don't mind subbing them in, because all we have to do is just switch something in our spreadsheet. But
cool. And I remember seeing that over on the Keystone Masters Discord, where originally there was like a cap on the number of teams, but then Blizzard, seeing the reaction that the community had, they opened up the floodgates, if you will, and they vetted everybody instead of just a certain number of people, right?
And originally, when we pitched it to Blizz and said, "Hey, can we do this? It'd be really cool." We said, so our last tournament was 4 teams. We're not, really thinking there's going to be that many people, and we said 100. That was the number of people that we said. We're like, yeah, we reckon, sort of maybe 100. Maybe some people will be interested. And then we opened the signups, and by the end of the second, so we had a week-long sign-up process. By the end of the second day, we already had, I think, about 300-400 people, and we went,
wow,
oh, okay, more people care than we initially thought would care. And then Method were great. They retweeted it as well, the sign-up page, and then when that tweet went out, the number of signups from that point doubled. Like, literally just on like the day after Method retweeted it, people just went, oh, that sounds like cool, I'm gonna sign up to that. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I want to play against like Method EU and NA. Like,
who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So at the end, though, it was the same thing, though. You guys did time trials. It was a matter of people putting in what they were able to pump out. I think Raider IO was picking up some of the aggregate data to help you guys figure out who did what, and from that you're able to pick up. I think how many were actually in the tournament though? It wasn't 130 teams.
Yeah, so it was like 137 entered. I think it was just under 40 who actually like fully completed the time trials and went through for dungeons, and then we ended up taking the top 8 for that, and then putting them into the live section. First time ever done it live as well. Everything else was pre-recorded, so that was a whole new thing for us.
That's amazing. And it was NA versus EU at the same time, so cross continental. Kudos to you guys for making that work. I mean, the logistics on the internet side there alone is just.
You guys did a great job.
It was scary. It was very scary.
I can imagine. All right. So, something that has come out of the Mythics is, so with Mythics, it's not just running the same dungeon per se. Like, you are running the same dungeon, but Blizzard decided that they were going to throw in these little tweakers, these little things to just add a little bit of random difficulty, if you will. And I kind of want to talk about these because I think this is what really makes it the challenge that it is, that people are really enjoying and really striving for. So we're talking about the affixes. Being season 4, there's some stuff that is always there, right? If I understand this correctly. So there's always the fortified, there's always the tyrannical. They're always available, but then they switch off and on, right? So the first level is a choice between fortified or tyrannical, depending on what week we're playing on live or on the TR realm, whatever Blizzard decides, right? And then there's the teaming, raging, bolstering, sanguine, bursting,
volcanic,
necrotic, skittish, volcanic,
quaking,
explosive, quaking, grievous. Holy.
Sounds like most of them.
And then there's the new one, the Awakened.
Yes.
And that one doesn't kick in until I think E15, right? Like that's the highest one, if I'm not mistaken.
So it goes up to level 10. So essentially,
Okay.
I think it starts at level. This is where I can't remember the numbers. I think it's level 2. It's like 2, 4, 7, and 10.
Okay.
I think you get a new affix. The level 2 ones is either going to be fortified or tyrannical. It will always flip-flop between those two.
Mm-hmm.
And then when your key gets up to level 5 or level 4, depending on the week, it will become one of the sort of what we would class as a low irritation affix, I guess. Something like, quaking, volcanic, not massively impactful, but it's still something you need to think about. And then level 7, you're going to get something a little bit more tricky, something like depending on the week, necrotic, that can be very horrible for tanks. Bolstering can be difficult for the DPS. Well, it's not difficult.
Yeah.
You choose to completely ignore it and just, make the healer struggle. And then once you get to
mana.
once you get to level 10, that's where you get the seasonal affixes, which is something new they've put in for this expansion, where each season, so each M+ and arena season combined, you have a completely new affix, which will be on every single key, and they've sort of been using these as almost sort of experiments, I guess, just sort of trying new things. Generally, they fit in with the theme of whatever the current patch is. So originally it was Gahoon, if we remember, all the way back at the beginning. So we had these infested mobs, these worms that were burrowing into people's chests and exploding out of mobs and all of that. And then when
Those
we had,
things were nasty.
They were horrible. Everyone was so happy when they got rid of them. And then when we had Eternal Palace, we had these sort of minions of Ajara, I guess would be what we call them, these emissaries, which were doing sort of similar things to what the Ajara encounter was doing, sort of mirroring that. And then we have Awakened right now with the power of N'Zoth himself corrupting the dungeons.
I know.
The big brainy boy. Yes.
And so, like I said, in leading up to this, I'd actually been doing some, and then with the grace of some people pulling me into a much higher key than I probably ever should have been in, I got to experience some of this, and I have to admit, doing the Awakened, that's fun. Like, running into a dungeon and then strategically taking this pillar or not, because if you don't take it, it doesn't mean anything. It just means that you have another lieutenant on top of the boss that you're killing at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then if you decide to take the pillar, now you're just kiting a mob, a mini boss level mob, but you're still kiting as far as you want through a dungeon and skipping as many mechanics as you want the whole way through. That, the first time I experienced it, it blew my mind. Like I read it and I was like, that's really cool. Like how, but then actually doing it, that's not that easy.
It's one of those concepts where you read it and you go, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. Like yeah, it's kind of cool. And then you play it, and then someone on your team goes, oh hey, you know what we could do with this? Hey, we could go into this pillar here, and then we can walk over here, or we can come out in this whole new section, and then look what we've just skipped, and we didn't even need a rogue to do that.
Yeah.
And then somebody else goes, oh hey, well that's cool. If we can do it there, why don't we do it in this? And then it just spirals. And right now, because we're so early in the season, everyone's kind of in that discovery period where nobody really knows. Like nobody can say for sure this is the best thing to do. Everyone's like, well, I think this would be cool. And then people are like, well, actually, no, I've got a rogue, so this works better for me, or this is better for my setup. And there's no right or wrong answer, which is really fun, to be honest.
Yeah, content, it just seems to be more exciting outside of an existing meta. You know? It gives the viewer a more organic look at the creativity of the player and the sheer ingenuity that kind of comes into some of these, especially when you can tap into things like voice communication and stuff like that. It creates a really, really immersive experience, at least from a viewership perspective. So
Totally.
yeah, I love outside of meta stuff.
Your comment about rogue, though, does this mean we're actually not going to see warrior, healer, 3 rogue comps dungeon running anymore?
I think sadly sadly for the rogues, that's gone. For everybody else, a massive cheer went out. There was a parade. It was fantastic. We were all loving it when that came in. Yeah. There were confetti
the only problem
cannons.
is that nobody showed up because of coronavirus.
Yeah, the event got cancelled. It's kind of unfortunate. But...
We still use the ticker tape. It just it's nobody's there to clean up afterwards. Sorry.
Unfortunately, as with all metas, we cut the head off the Hydra, and then another one spawned, and then we got unholy DKs, which came in and just replaced it, and basically became the same thing. And now everyone's just complaining about that.
Well, and BM hunters. Like I was really surprised when you guys
they're the
talking
new
about
edition.
that. Like, what's up with that?
So BM hunters right now, their single target is fantastic.
Okay.
It's just really, really good. There's their pure single target. If you say, I need that mob dead as quickly as possible, they are, I wouldn't say the highest, but they are certainly one of the highest. They're very, very much up there. But on top of that, they have a lot of passive AoE that they just do as part of their natural rotation. But they can choose to turn that on or off, basically. So in the same way that, although a rogue never would, they could turn Blade Flurry on or off if they wanted more or less AoE. BM Hunters can virtually do the same thing. I don't quite know why. Maybe it was because in KSM we limited the amount of specs you could bring. So we intentionally said you cannot bring more than one of a spec. Yeah. So you could bring more than one of a class. Like you could have a Blood Death Knight and an Unholy Death Knight, but you couldn't have 2 Unholies. So people sort of went, okay, what's the next best thing compared to Unholy DK? And I think a lot of people went DH and Hunter were that sort of new thing.
True. And
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that change.
Yeah, the class stack
to the MDI, because that was something that really also just turned me off to the MDI. It was just like, oh, it's just all the same class in the group with a druid, So
yeah,
but that's a wonderful addition, and it seems like it paid off really well.
It did. We even saw Ret Paladins, which people who play Ret Paladin will know that it's good, right? And it's not to say that Ret Paladins are bad, but if you said like to a push group, hey, I want to come on my Ret Paladin, they'd laugh.
No kidding. How do they get through up all the stairs though in the wheelchair?
I don't know. They made it work. Levitate. Maybe they brought a mage in.
I'm sorry. I'm trolling. That was bad. I'm sorry. That was a bad joke. All right. So just thinking for the talking again back to like these affixes and that. How much does some of the combos that we're seeing in some of these dungeons, how much does that actually like does it take a lot of thought process to figure out what you're going to try to throw into a dungeon? Because because you guys did different, but depending on the dungeon, you guys did different affixes, right?
Yeah. So on live, the affixes are a set rotation. So each week you will know what is going to come up the next week, and you can see all the way into the end of expansion. Like we know what the affixes will be. For the tournament, we had complete reign over the tournament realm. We had scrolls with all the affixes on, so we could decide what teams, like what we wanted teams to play in each dungeon. And we could go, okay, well, you see this dungeon which has lots of little mobs in, well, we're going to make it really hard for the tank. We're going to, basically do a tank check on this dungeon. Or we'll take some of the affixes which makes the healers really focus. Or we'll put affixes on that the DPS should focus on, but they choose not to because for some reason, DPS in dungeons, they just push all the work on the tank and the healer.
They're the
I don't
worst,
know why.
man. They're the
Eh?
worst.
You guys suck. I don't know why you do that.
So toxic.
I always say I like to stand in the fire because I help my healer pad their meters.
True.
Works in classic, but man.
I'm just worried that if I jump in so much on this, because I'm really not a huge fan of the MDI, but I'm completely blown away by the popularity and the just the popularity of what the MDI is bringing. I haven't been talking much because I'm just like absorbing it all in. What about the MDI makes it so popular? Because we've had the AWC forever, and you've been able to, anybody can join it, but for some reason we don't get the numbers that the MDI does. What do you think might be a cause of that?
I think the main thing is just the way that you are introduced to dungeons in the base game itself. Like one of the first things you do as your level, not one of the first things, but you are very quickly pushed towards dungeons. Like I think there's even a quest which says go into this dungeon and go and run it within the first 10 levels. So everybody who's played WoW at some point will have done a dungeon. It's a very sort of natural part of the leveling experience, and PvP isn't something that people are necessarily pushed towards in any way. Like there are sort of optional quests where it's like you can go and do this if you want to, but why don't you come and look at this thing instead, which is more exciting or maybe gives a better reward. And then I think the popularity of MDI even surprised Blizzard. I don't think they realized it was going to be quite as big as it was.
Right.
And it's just growing. It's kind of this unstoppable train at the moment, and everyone's just sort of holding on for dear life, going, "Where is this going to stop?" Nobody really knows.
Yeah, no, because like I said, I am completely blown away by this. I've compared the MDI to NASCAR. Where it is just you're watching people perform as a perfect left turn.
Yeah.
And inside these MDIs, you're watching people doing everything they can to perform the perfect mob pull. And I compare it to a dance, and the better you learn the dance, the faster you're able to perform the actions and stuff like that. But I've never really been drawn into that aspect of World of Warcraft. I've always been playing on the unpredictable side of things, where I like not knowing what my opponent's going to do and to try to outplay them. But this is just, like I posted in Twitch chat, just my mind's blown. I have no idea what to think of the MDI right now.
See, I love that NASCAR analogy because to the average person, NASCAR is a circular or an oval track, and they drive a car around a track. There's no inherent. It's driving in a circle. What's inherently skillful about driving in a circle? Yeah. I think a lot of people look at the MDI and they'll go, okay, well they pulled some mobs, they dragged them together, and then they killed them. Mm-hmm. And I go into dungeons, I pull mobs, I kill them, but they don't see sort of on the micro level what is going on, what people are actually doing in terms of crowd control, in terms of interrupts, in terms of the pathing they're doing, in terms of those small tiny min-maxes, which are really hard to see if you don't know what you're looking for. But once you're aware of sort of the almost what's the word I want? Almost like sort of the under level, like the stuff that's going on. Yeah, the nuance. That's exactly the word I want. The nuance of what these people are doing, you get a whole new respect for what it is they're actually doing. Apart from in our tournament, where we just encourage everyone to pull as much as they can and then just do lots of damage, big numbers. We smash keyboard, kill mobs. Yeah.
I like big numbers. I cannot lie.
That's right.
You other bros can't
You
deny.
other DPS can't deny.
But see, I say that even in our tournament, right? They
Mm-hmm.
were pulling so many mobs and they were dying very quickly. But if they didn't manage those interrupts, right? If one interrupt went off on that pull, that's it. They're done.
Yeah.
Like if one fear mob goes off in a towel, if the tank gets a bleed on them, they shouldn't.
Yeah.
The whole thing's gonna fall apart.
So we saw that though over the method NA. They started chain pulling and then they started chain wiping.
Mm.
And like, but that's the train wreck. Like that's the part that I look for. Like I'm kind of the NASCAR person. Like I don't watch NASCAR for watching somebody drive a circle for 500 laps, turning left all the time. I'm waiting for that huge, massive crash and going, oh my goodness, oh, that was amazing.
This is the.
You're a
this
terrible
is like,
person, Garrett. Sorry.
I know.
This is
It's
the
only
other
pixels,
side
though.
of it. Yeah, in a game, it's fine. You're not talking about IRL, of course.
Of course, no.
Of course. But this is like the other side of it, right? Is you have that sort of level of professionalism and that we have practiced this over 100 times and, we can get this nailed down perfectly to the nth degree. And, you're talking about choreography. There are some pulls where you literally have to say, okay, well, you're going to go over here. You're going to make sure you take this path instead of this one. You're going to make sure you sap that on the way. And then you're going to blind gouge. You're going to make sure you then shroud. There's so many different things going on at one time. Sometimes it doesn't go to plan. Sometimes you have this whole like written choreography and it's like, yep, okay, we're ready. And then within 5 seconds, you just die. So there were some situations in the tournament where I'm adminning and I've got my spreadsheet and we're tracking the deaths and I have to, be paying attention. And, something will happen over here. My dog will be on the bed and, he'll make a noise to me. I'll turn and look at him. I turn back and I see that there are now 5 deaths on the screen and I have no idea where they came from. And then I have to say to the admins, hey, can you like clip that? What happened? I literally do not know what happened to that team. But 1 minute the health bar was here and now it's down here somewhere.
Wow. And some of that was corruption. Just
It was corruption.
So I want to bring
Well,
this.
on that,
I think
Go
no.
ahead.
I think this is actually a really good spot. Andolin, we have some clips prepared for this, right?
Yeah, we
So
do.
I want to pull these in here.
Okay.
This is Cirra pointed out 2 really great events. I think the first one, talking about pulling a big group and things just not going to plan. If you want to pull that one up, that was.
Which one is that?
That's the other one.
The short one?
No, it's a longer one. It was the devastation one.
Oh, okay.
The absolute
Alright.
devastating pull.
Let's go ahead and swap over to that now.
All right.
Oh, he's beating.
So-
he's
Oh,
he
beating
pulls the
where-
boss,
If I remember
pulling
correctly,
everything into the
maybe-
boss
maybe-
once he gets aggro.
this is
Oh,
where
it
the
didn't
tank
even go
decides to do
towards.
a
He
massive
missed
pull.
it. He missed it.
And
Oh,
you're
they're all
like-
getting healed.
because you're kind of hearing comms as well.
Oh, he missed it
You're able to
again.
hear some stuff.
What is he doing?
But this is where the tank was
He's
like,
throwing his
I'm
Twilight
gonna
Devs.
take care of this and launch
Another.
Twilight
He's missing
Devastation,
all of his
and then what
Twilight
happened?
Devs.
Well, see, this is, we're talking about this earlier with sort of PvP and the way that corruption works in PvP.
Mhm.
And going into this specific tournament, a lot of the players are like, you know what we're going to do? Hey, we're sort of going to cheat the system, right? We're going to stack Twilight Devastation up to the max. We're going to get like hundreds of corruption and we're just going to one-shot packs. And one of our tanks decided that he would put some Twilight Devastation on. He'd try that trick. He'd say, don't worry, guys, DPS, don't worry about it. I'm going to handle these mobs. And then it doesn't quite go to plan, I think is the nicest way of phrasing it.
Indeed. And if you actually look, like, so you see there's all these mobs, and then there's like this ray of blackness over in Timbuktu. Like, I don't know where that ray was going, but it didn't go anywhere near. And it was like, what, 3 tries?
I think there's 3 or 4 of them.
Wow.
So he's facing the mobs, and then he does a slight turn to reposition the mob. So he's getting the boss in the right position, and then hoping the mobs will follow. He turns to try and get the boss in the right position, and immediately the first Twilight Devastation goes straight into the boss. And you go, okay, that's unfortunate. Like, sometimes you get caught out. I'm sure it happens in PvP. You get to slow at the wrong time, and it's just a bit frustrating. What can you do?
Yep.
And so he gets the position in, and then he goes, actually, you know what? No, I'm not quite happy with this position. So he backpedals a tiny bit. He does a turn again. Same thing happens. Literally the second after it just happened. And at this point, our casters are there like, that is just the worst. Surely it can't happen again.
Yep.
Surely there is
And
no
then-
way that it will happen again. And I'll give you 3 guesses what happened again. The exact same thing happened the 3rd time he tried to move. And you can see, like on the 3rd one he does, there's almost this tiny little shuffle where he almost doubts himself and goes, wait, if I turn, what if it happens? So he sort of turns back and then goes, I don't know, I'm gonna turn, I've got to turn, turns, pew, off the beam goes. That is corruption. Hello RNG in all fields of gameplay.
Indeed. Which in its own way, though, I mean, it adds its own story. It added to the story, and I think that's what really helps with it there. And then the other one, actually, no, hold on. I want to hold on to that one. I want to wait until I want to use that one for this. Should we talk about mob snapping now and use that as to what mob snapping is and how to not do it? So for anybody who's listening, and I want to say I didn't know what mob snapping was until me and you were talking.
Yeah, I'm completely clueless here.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm with you on that one too.
So Cirra, explain to us what mob snapping is.
Okay, so again, my understanding of the way that the game is coded, I don't have a clue. This is not me being the authority on it, but I know what happens when I do the thing. So my understanding of it is that mobs are programmed to try and hit you, especially if they're not spellcasters. Sorry, if they're just mobs that melee, they are programmed to run towards you and try and hit you if you have aggro on them.
Yep.
If you go onto some kind of terrain, let's say it's a really high rock, or maybe it's just a weirdly programmed mushroom or root. We've seen it on all kinds of weird things before. If you go onto something where the mob cannot find a path for you, it does not know how to get from where it is to you, it'll do one of 2 things. One, it'll snap to you, so it will just teleport from where it is and it will just go straight across to where you are. Or it will teleport you to where it is. So you kind of have to experiment, but generally they snap to you. So in dungeons, people have used this as a bit of a technique. So let's say you have one pack that's all the way over here, and you have one pack that's all the way over here, and you've got this nice little pillar in the middle that you know is a snap spot because they can't path to you. You can say, okay, well, Mr. Rogue, I'm going to go and stand on that. I want you to use tricks of the trade on me, and then you're going to attack the mobs. And then when those mobs get aggro on the Rogue, Trix passes it to the tank. They can't get a path to the tank, so they just snap straight on it. So it's almost like a sort of grouping tool for collecting lots of mobs from different areas onto one universal spot, so that you can then AoE them down, you can mass stun them, you can just make the pull smoother. Generally speaking, you make the pull smoother, but it doesn't always work out that way.
So when you first explained this to me, I kind of understood conceptually, and in my brain, I related it to me being a warlock main. When sometimes my pet before used to, like, if I went somewhere, it would then decide to take the big long route and pull everything along the way. But now, if I like jump off the cliff, habitually what they'll do is they'll just like mysteriously disappear and then reappear next to me.
Yeah.
And they'll kind of teleport. And to me, that's what that mechanic is the mobs are using that same mechanic. Now, and I think what's the dungeon? It's
To the clip?
Yeah, I think it's Ataldazar. Okay. Which is great because there's these little spots along the edge where there's some pillars and there's like this little arm. It's great little graphics. But yeah, apparently if you jump there, inherently it's a snap spot no matter where you go, and the mobs will snap there. And I think, Andolin, if you want to throw up the clip on that one as well. That's the Demon Hunter one. Yeah, this is how you don't snap.
So what I do want to point out is that everybody's probably done this at some point.
Mobs, you had the rogue
It wasn't
run
just
ahead
like
and snap everything on
he's
this
a
bridge
very
section,
good
but not
player.
that
Like, I
fall,
don't wanna-
as we are seeing it shell it drop down.
But in this
on the side
specific
of Painter
instance, it
Fountain.
wasn't his finest hour. Unfortunately, he went in to assist with the snap, get that damage done. But because of the location of the specific snap spot,
Grab those
he,
mobs. You had the rogue run ahead,
slightly
and snap
overshot
everything on this bridge
the
section,
mark,
but not that
I think,
fall,
and then fell
as
down
we are seeing
right
it shell
onto
it
the boss.
drop down on the side of
Who
Painter Fountain.
hasn't fallen from a spot?
grab those
into a
mobs.
pit.
You had the
I mean,
rogue
really,
Exactly.
it
We'll
was
do
just.
at some
it-
point.
It's just, and I feel bad. Like, yeah, we're kind of making fun of, but and that's kind of, but yeah. So it kind of shows. So that's how the tank can move to the spot, and then all the mobs snap to him, and then you can pop all your cooldowns and do whatever you want, and they're all stuck right there, which is amazing, awesome. So long as everybody stays where they're supposed to be. I do feel bad for him. I mean, like you said, he popped all of his CDs. He was good to go, and then he DPS'd the water really hard.
Yeah.
Now,
So,
what would have been interesting there, though, is, again, don't know why, because this is kind of the, I guess it fits in with the rule. So that specific section, there's a bridge up here, and there's a pit down here. Now,
Yeah.
there's that little bit, I don't know what to call it, like that little bit that just sort of sticks out of the edge where you jump onto that bit and then it snaps. The same rule that you were talking about, Garrison, with the Warlock pets, where if you jump off a ledge, if you jump off that ledge into the pit, the mobs will also snap down there, because otherwise they'd have to run 20 billion yards, so they just snap straight down.
Oh,
What I
neat.
would love to have seen there is if the tank had immediately realized and the tank had just jumped off and went, well, you know what? I've snapped it once. I'm going to snap it twice and just get them straight down again. And at this point, it almost becomes its own mechanic, kind of. It's not an intentional mechanic, but you can play around it and use it to fix things. That's probably the right phrase.
So I've got an extra something that I kind of want to talk about here. So at what point does this become a neat use of mechanics and no longer versus an exploit? So like where I'm kind of curious where is the perception on this? Where is your perception on this? And maybe has Blizzard said anything about this?
I don't think Blizzard have made any official statements on it.
Yeah.
I know that as a thing in the game, it's basically the solution for a worse problem. So the worst problem would be that if a mob can't path to you, then it just stands there and evades, and then it just resets. And that would be, what would you rather, that you pulled a mob and then it suddenly just went nowhere, or that it suddenly just came to you? It's kind of the lesser of two evils. The community perception, it kind of depends on who you are. Like, I love it. I'm a big fan of snap spots. I like it. I like using it in strats. I think it's a technique. It's something that I would encourage more people to use. However, it does require a lot of time. It requires you to go into these dungeons and sort of know what tends to be a snap spot and what tends to not be a snap spot, and go and find them. And sort of the higher end teams go, I don't have the time for that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to spend my time finding these spots, because once one person finds it and once people know about it, anyone can do it. Like, it's not a high skill cap thing to do. It's, hey, instead of walking here, walk here. It's not insanely difficult to do. Personally, I love them though. I think it's sort of another level of complexity to the already complex system that is Dungeons.
Yeah, for sure. Because you know what I think about here is, you know, if I was, let's say, a Death Knight, right? What I would find issue here is, well, what this does is this cheapens my abilities, because if everyone has an ability to Glorfiend's Grasp at different types of break points in the dungeon, so let's call them, or snap points, right? Then why do they need to bring me for my Glorfiend's Grasp, or why do they need my Death Grip anymore? It cheapens my abilities. So that's where I start to say, you know,
true.
Now, granted,
I
guess they're finding their way into the dungeon either way, though. But
yeah, I think rogues felt exactly the same way, like as you're saying in that example, when they put Awakened in, because Awakened essentially, obviously in competitive speedrunning, yeah, you're still gonna want a shroud, but for someone doing their weekly key, well, I don't need a rogue anymore. Like, I don't need a shroud because I have this pillar. I have 4 of them. I can shroud in between indefinitely. And I think it's intriguing to see how Blizzard is redistributing the existing sort of mechanics and utility that some classes have, and not directly doing it by taking those away, or not specifically giving it to somebody else, but they're redesigning affixes and giving new potions and things like that to kind of let everybody have a more equal shot at being able to do
yeah.
I just thought of something. Sorry, go ahead, Winston.
So I was just saying, I do like that too, where it's giving players the ability to do something, and you have to give the players props. Blizzard put it in the game, regardless of whether it was intentional or not.
Yep.
And if players, I mean, let's face it, players love to break things. We really do. We love to manipulate the things that Blizzard gives us, and sometimes it can go really, really poorly. Sometimes it can be really, really awesome. And this is an example where I think it's if you spent the time finding that point, you should be rewarded for figuring it out. And if Blizzard doesn't want it to happen in game, then maybe they could just remove that from just the mythics, or maybe make it so that, hey, the player will automatically snap to the mobs instead of the mobs snapping to the player. So if Blizzard wants to fix this or change this, it's totally doable for them.
What they did
props to players
was
for unique mechanics.
what they did do going in between BFA and Legion. Like Legion had so many of them. Like Snapswaz dominated the meta. The teams who were doing well, like mine and Legion, were just using these as much as we possibly could. In BFA, they clearly went through a lot of these dungeons in the sort of QA testing phase and the alpha phase, and they found a bunch of them. They put invisible walls, so you could not get to the places where this would happen. And that was kind of their, like, we need the system to be in the game because it protects players from something even worse happening, but we also don't want it to happen in the first place. So this is kind of their, like, compromise. But like you say, players will always find a way of breaking things. Like, players will always try and push the limits and go, okay, well, this is something that I want. Like, this helps me. Therefore, I'm going to go out of my way to try and do that. And, we've just had 2 new dungeons released, Mechagon, Junkyard, and Workshop. And players are already going through there and they're tearing it up. And they're going, how can I break this? What can I do to give myself an edge? I think players will always do that in any esport, but in WoW especially, players are very prone to breaking things.
Yeah, and if it's not too egregious, then maybe it's better almost in that regard.
Yeah,
because it's like, well, this is something that I can do consistently. Because just to kind of like, the reason I ask about some of that stuff is, I was remembering some of the issues that we had in the past, back towards like some SFAN stuff, and when like Lore actually did some clarifications on helping the community understand how we can differentiate an exploit versus a bug, I guess we'll say. And his key factor was really what the intent was. So he says, did the player do something here with the specific intention of causing a glitch to occur, or did they do it in order to exploit said glitch for their own benefit, right? And I feel like, according to his definition, this is an exploit. But I think, you bring up a good point when you say that the fine text or the asterisk here is that we don't have a better solution, so we're going to live with this because the alternative is worse, right?
It's interesting.
I'd like to point, if the players are overconfident and if they use the snap, the tank and the players need to be ready to do their job, or else the tank just dies.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not like it's a unique way to gather the mobs together really, really quickly. But if you gather mobs together really, really quickly, you need to make sure that you're prepared for that to happen. So I can see how they can kind of balance it out where, hey, the tank did it. He pulled off the snap and now he's dead. Okay.
Well, like almost all exploits have been difficult to pull off in some way, shape, or form. Not all of them, but a large majority of them have been difficult to pull off. So, I mean, the difficulty of being able to pull it off really has no bearing, at least from Blizzard's perspective, on whether or not it's an exploit or not. I just thought it was interesting how when you put the two side by side, it's like, that looks an awful lot like an exploit, but it makes sense with the state of it, because you have to treat every one as an individual case.
And the real question is, what is it hurting? Is it hurting the player base? It's hurting it hurts your feelings to not have snap points, though. But that's the thing, is that like if it doesn't, it's not like because I'm doing this now you as a player suffer. You know what I mean? Because that's
So-
another part of exploits that really, anytime you have an exploit that actively hurts other players for you to do the thing, Blizzard hates that. You know, they
Well, by you getting a
absolutely
better
wanna put a stop
time,
to 'em.
by you being able to clear a dungeon more with extra type of capacity than another team, that's just as much of a hurting the other players as any other exploit.
Let
Do
me
the
add
players
another
all have
dynamic
act?
for you.
Okay, go for
Okay.
it.
Let me add in another dynamic because I'm intrigued to see what you think of this because I've had this conversation before, like this exact conversation, and what I always sort of pull it back to is ultimately when you think about like MDI specifically and sort of PvE dungeon esports, we're not talking about a PvP situation. So it's not
Right.
technically me versus the other team. I can't influence what the other team does. Like me doing something in my dungeon has no bearing on what they do. It's essentially a speed run. I am speedrunning alongside another team speedrunning, and who does it more efficiently? And there have been massive conversations in the speedrunning communities for all kinds of games, harking back to Mario, Zelda, all the original, Quake and Doom and all that stuff as well. Sort of like, and I always think of it like any percent and glitchless.
Mhm.
Is it an exploit? Does it sequence break? Does it do something which allows me to perform something, for example, going out of bounds? Blizzard have said out of bounds, that's a glitch.
Yeah.
Don't do that. That's bad. That's an exploit. Going through walls,
Clear
making a
cut.
boss do something which it shouldn't do. So there were situations in the past where we could make bosses stop doing the mechanics. So in Underrock, for example, you could go and stand on a rock and the boss just wouldn't do anything. It would go, well, I don't know what to do now, so I'm going to stand here and you can just kill me. That's kind of where we draw the line. If it stops the dungeon functioning in the way that it should do. Well,
Right.
that's where I draw the line anyway. If a boss can't do what it's supposed to do, if I go to a place where I should not be able to go to, if I do something which inherently breaks the game, this doesn't really stop the flow of the dungeon. I don't go out of bounds. Everything does what it's supposed to do. It's just instead of it doing it over there, it's now going to do it over here. And I still
Yeah.
have like we were saying earlier, I still have to deal with the mechanics, right? If a mob's doing a cast, me putting it over here, it's still going to do that cast. And if I don't interrupt that cast, I'm still going to die. That's kind of where I stand on it. It's not necessarily an exploit. It's a unintended feature, which it's in the game. You have to deal with it.
Well, and it's not
love it.
something that if you have to do something extra special to pull off. You literally just have to stand here, and
Yep.
everybody can do that. All it takes is a knowledge base
Well-
of, hey, this is the location to do that, to make this happen, and
Yeah, but all you had to
everybody
do
can
was
have
stand
that
on the rock.
happen.
All you had to do was stand on a rock, and that's
Yeah.
going to be something that's all you have to do was stand in a certain way against raw den. But yet Blizzard changed
Yep.
that. Are you going to condemn Blizzard in that case too?
Well, I mean, it is Blizzard's game, and if they give us a broken product, then what? How are we supposed to now? And again, he's not actively trying to break the game.
Oh, I
He's
am.
making the game. Oh,
I
oh,
will
you
break
are.
it as much as I
Definitely
can.
break the game. Snap it. No, but like with this whole mob snapping thing, I don't see any problem with it because one, it's available to everybody. They still have to deal with the mobs and the mechanics of the mobs. They, like he's saying, it's just like, it's not like they can now where he's talking about freezing mobs. Mobs can no longer perform their actions. Bosses can no longer perform actions. That's definitely like, okay, we're breaking the game here. But this seems just like a clever use of mechanics.
Yeah.
And I personally have no problem with that. I mean, especially in the context of Mythic Dungeons, where if I get a faster time, then I get a faster time, I get good gear. You can get a fast time, you get good gear. It's not like in PvP where, oh, because I beat you, you now have less of an opportunity to get a good gear drop from the PvP match. You know what I mean? Like when you win, you have a higher percentage chance of getting rewards. In PvP, you're actively preventing somebody from winning, and you're therefore diminishing their ability to get a reward. But in this, it's just you and your group. There is
that
no
makes me
influence on
wonder.
other players.
That makes me wonder if on live, if that's some of the reason behind the RNG of gear is that the RNG kind of counters that in that if you do it in time, if you do it like a plus 17 in time and I don't because I didn't snap, then the gear I have the chance of still getting really good gear because
Well, and
reasons.
there
But
is no, I mean, is there a cutoff on time completion benefits?
So there's a cutoff on level. So
Mhm.
above
15 now?
so above level, I think it's above level 10. Yeah, I think at level 10 the gear caps out, so you'll never get a higher eye level piece. The corruption
Mhm.
system will still be as RNG as it is, and then the higher you go, you have a percentage chance to drop an extra piece of gear.
I thought it used to be
So
10. Isn't it 15 now?
I can't remember what they've changed it to.
Because I think people used to do their 10s. It's like, oh, I gotta do my 10 for the week, right?
That was for the
Chat-
weekly chest.
chat,
For
is
the
it-
actual
is it-
dungeon.
Chat, what's the number?
For
I'm
weekly
hearing it,
keys,
chat.
it's 15.
Yeah.
I can't remember what
Oh,
the
wow,
end of dungeon
we're getting an argument in chat now.
Oh no!
But so I mean,
What have I started?
but again, it's what you're able to do, and the
Oh, yeah.
ability to do it is on the table for everybody, and it's not actively disrupting the gameplay in such a way that because if you mess up on the snap, you just die, right? I mean, I'm not wrong in my assumption there that when
No,
you
necessarily.
you mess up,
You can still survive.
you die.
You can still survive. No one said that.
Now, this is the interesting thing though, is when it happens unintentionally.
How do you
And there have
mess
been
up
situations
the snap?
in MDM. How do you reset one?
No, how do you mess up the snap? They just don't snap. They just keep running to you. In which case, they don't hit you. So I'm confused at what your point is.
Well,
Or
sometimes
Winston's point.
depending on seemingly completely RNG factors, you can try and snap and they'll just evade. They'll just go, nope, because the original system was that if they couldn't reach you, they just evade. And
Right.
so it's almost like sometimes they snap,
A
sometimes they
fallback
don't.
or something.
And this
Yeah.
is why, in the competitive scene, Blizzard basically made the ruling, and the esports team are really good with this. When we mention this stuff, they are very active and they make rulings on it and they make it very clear where they stand. There's no sort of line of, I don't know if this is okay. If you say, I want to do this, they will give you a very clear yes, no. But they have said with snaps, because they do sometimes not work, 9 out of 10 times they'll work. But that 1 in 10 time where it doesn't work, they say you're doing it at your own risk.
Yeah.
This isn't a 100% chance. You can choose to do it. If it doesn't work out, tough.
Yeah. Just like corruption.
You're
right?
bacon. Yeah.
How much risk do you want to take?
And
Sorry.
sometimes you snap intentionally. There have been situations in MDI where, and it happened to my team twice, where we didn't know something was going to snap. Where we just went and pulled a mob. We walked over a rock, as in DHT, Dark Art Thicket, back in Legion, was a horrible dungeon for this. The whole dungeon was this like gravelly sort of just gravel, like a gravel path going through, and there was all these tiny little pixels which were jutting out. And those tiny little pixels, if you stood on one of the wrong ones, the mobs would just go, okay, I'm going to stand on this pixel now, and I'm not leaving. This is where I live now. And that's where they basically started inputting the rule of, okay, we're going to try and make sure that never happens again. But if you snap and it goes wrong, it's your own fault.
Yeah.
Wow.
I like it.
So
Risk
two
reward.
questions.
Risk
Sorry,
reward.
question and something. So to respond to your other thing about gearing, whatever, looks like Twitch chat has calmed down. So there's an argument about being at 14 or 15, but apparently it's eye level 465 at Keystone 14, and like around 460 at 12. It's 5 levels for every 2 key levels. So, and there's a increased percent chance of extra drop above 15. So
That sounds
Okay.
about right to me. Something in that region.
yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Gotcha.
anyways, quick question for you, Cirra. Just for time investment, how much time investment would you say a person such as yourself would need to put in to run a dungeon and do all the nuances to find all those little these little spots, these pixels, or these spots to for snap, the how to, like, not just it beyond just the most efficient path, but along with the most efficient path of do this here, do that there, do that. Like, how much time investment are you putting into finding the best pathing of a dungeon?
It's difficult to say because a lot of Mythic Plus is just community based. Lots of these people stream. When people find something, it very quickly becomes public knowledge. And if you're sort of pugging a lot and you're playing with a lot of these people, you tend to just naturally hear of all of these cool things that are going on and just sort of, word of mouth. And then if I was to sit down with all the knowledge that I have and try and make a path with all this stuff, it would probably take 1 or 2 days. If you were trying to find it fresh and it was let's say, we go into Shadowlands and we get alpha and we get to go in those dungeons, how long would it take me to find this stuff? I mean, for probably the best example I can give is Vault of the Wardens from Legion. That dungeon, me and my tank went in and we just sat for about 8 hours. And we just went through the whole dungeon. We combed it over. We went through everything in 8 hours. And we were confident at that point that we had found everything that we would need for the rest of the season. So I'd say if you're just going into something completely fresh and you have no idea, I'd say about 8 hours is how long I would take to sort of comb over a dungeon, unless the dungeon's huge. Like I have a Jara. Oh, that dungeon was huge. Junkyard, the new Mechagon dungeon, is massive. Trying to find stuff in there is like needle in a haystack.
Well, and it's also not exactly a linear pathway. Those types of dungeons. It allows you to go different directions whenever you want. So.
But that's nice because if you find a snap that's on a path that isn't the sort of typical route, at that point you get more, teams are diverging. Well, this team's going to go this way because they think it's the best path. This team's going to go this way, as opposed to King's Rest and Workshop, which are very linear. And I'm not a fan of linear dungeons. It's kind of very who has the most damage because everything's, you can't outpath the other team. You can't outthink. You can't sort of outstrat them. It's just a case of do you have more damage?
Good point. Well, and speaking of these little nuances and stuff, I think we're kind of winding down here. So what would be, given that you have the magic wand of Blizzard and you could change any one thing on the topic of Mythic Dungeons, what would be the one thing you would change?
Gear swapping. Just straight up gear swapping. Was that going to be yours?
Yes.
You're saying that you want.
I want pet battles. I want pets back in. I want world events in the dungeons.
No. Take it. It's yours. I'll think of something else.
I feel bad now.
No.
Okay, I'll fill. That's
You are
right.
the guest. You go first.
It's all yours.
And if Garrison really wants to expound upon it, he can.
He deserves to get sniped taking the low-hanging fruit. I'm all for it.
Okay, so gear swapping was a feature back in Legion, and when you were out of combat, you used to be able to change any piece of gear. So let's say you had a trinket which gave you a huge absorb shield, and there was a boss which was going to hit you for 1,000,000 damage, and you had a trinket which absorbed for 1,000,000 damage, say. You could mitigate that mechanic by putting on that trinket before that boss, and then after that boss, you could go back to your big, shiny, spinny, look up my damage, it's amazing trinket. Or if a tank needed a bit more defensive power, they could put that on. If a healer needed more healing, and you could basically switch between that. In terms of single target and AoE stats as well, some people, for example, would stat into mastery for AoE, just, as an example. But crit might be their best for single target. So between trash and bosses, you could say, well, I'm going to put on a more mastery heavy gear set or a crit heavy gear set. And you had, again, just another extra layer, just something which let you just sort of show your prowess, really. Just another thing that you can use to say, I am a better player. I have chosen to do this. I've put thought into it. I have completely mapped out everything, and I've min-maxed this. What Blizzard said going into BFA was, we don't like that. We don't like that certain players feel like I need this trinket for this boss. And if I don't have that trinket, I'm not going to get taken to groups. They didn't like the fact that PvP players were feeling forced to go into raids, and there were players from raids feeling forced to go into PvP, and everyone was having to do everything that they didn't want to do to be able to do another piece of content. And it's like, you shouldn't have to go from... you shouldn't have to go in this piece of content to get something which is then going to give you an advantage in that piece of content, and then these people are saying no, but I need to go over here, and it's just a big mishmash. And their solution to that was remove gear swapping. But for me, that was just another nuance, another layer, something that let me go and show people, look, this is what I can do. This is the high level that I'm playing on, and that's another thing I can use to show that. And I'm very sorry for stealing your answer. I feel really bad.
Actually, I had it different, but that's okay. It was same but different. But
yeah, I'd bring that back. I miss it. Give it back to me in Shadowlands, please.
Indeed.
Well, and I don't know why they really took it away, but just didn't. Why take away player choice?
Yeah,
that's always my thing. I've got something that I would like to change.
Go for it.
Because the one thing about the MDI is I think there's just too much PvE involved. And so what I would like to do is I would like to steal from Destiny 2. In Destiny 2, there's a game mode called Gambit. And what it allows you to do is you're playing in a PvE environment, and as you progressively go through the mode, you receive points, which at one section of the game, you're allowed to go and interfere with the other team that you're playing against. And so what you would have is the dungeon run, and then there's extracurricular activities that you do during your run that gives you these portal points, per se. And when you achieve the portal points, you are then able to teleport to the next mob pack and proceed to attack the players that are running the dungeon that you're running against.
See, I have thought about this very idea. There's a dungeon currently on live called King's Rest, and the idea is it's this sacred burial temple of the kings of.
Yeah.
You get the gist, like fill in with crap lore, but
lore.
all the boring
lore
stuff that doesn't
crap
involve me
lore?
killing. Either.
Oh,
You can fill it with crab lore if you want. The crab kings of Tal'Dazar. But you go into King's Rest, right? And it harkens back to like the Egyptian pharaohs, and they had booby traps.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see some kind of, like you say, almost gauntlet, where there's two teams running along this same route, but then at some point one team can activate a booby trap on the other team and just slow them down slightly, like a tar pit or spikes coming from the ground or the big fire thing is coming out of the wall. Mess them up.
I want your character,
a blue
whatever
Koopa shell.
player you pick from your team to go and interfere, basically I want to see them become a monster.
Okay.
They get total increase in stats, total increase in damage. They become a mini boss. And then they teleport into the group against the other players, and they can wait. You know, they'll just have a little timer in the top hand corner that you are in this dungeon for X time. Now, your team is down a player while you're doing this. And so it's a very good high risk, high reward scenario where, hey, if I pull this off and I'm able to wipe the enemy team, they get into the middle of a mob, and then I can disrupt their plan and then show up and deal a ton of damage, and then they all die. While my team just slows down a little bit, pull a little bit less hard, then great. But if I get caught and they wipe me out real quick and then get back to their dungeon, then my team slowed down intentionally to compensate for my absence, and now we're behind in the dungeon.
That'd be
so I think it would be. I think stealing Gambit from Destiny 2, and if you guys haven't tried it, it's actually really fun. But I think it would be a great addition to add a little bit more stress, a little bit more intensity into the match. Because now that you're able to influence each other, you know, it brings a little bit more PvP into the mix.
You know, it'd be really dope if they did that as you know, the PvP brawls they do, where they do those like little unique game modes, add that in as like a brawl thing, like almost do like a PvP brawl, because I think they haven't done any of those, right? It's all on the PvP side. Maybe trying to add something.
It's all been BGs.
Yeah. Try and add it into
That
like a.
Oh gosh, we need to get a hold of some people at Blizzard.
I need to rein this in. Andolin, what's your one thing?
Well, what I wanted to contribute to that discussion was it'd be neat if you almost had like a tug of war boss, to where it was like, you know, if two teams are running a dungeon in tandem, if one team gets to a boss before like as essentially whoever's able to sway the health bar of one boss one way or another. Maybe it's like if you get to them first, then you have to heal the boss to a certain point, and then damage to a certain point. It's like a tug of war race. That'd actually be kind of cool. Is like a final type of thing, but it could make the dungeon go on for seemingly ever. Let's see. So the thing that I would change is I would like just a purely just badging type of like just like a dungeon prestige that went onto each character. I think it'd be really neat. So like for instance, in the actual event that you were watching, you could see like, wow, J.B has run Waycrest Manor like 13,421 times. Like, whoa, holy crap. Or maybe he swaps to his monk and it's like, this monk's only ran it twice. Or something like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool just to have almost like some kind of prestige counter of how.
Like Raider IO?
No,
Nah,
that's
not
that's
quite the same.
not. Yeah.
Yeah. That's just an EP. But yeah, I know what you're saying though. Like kind of like a
Exactly.
little like a little meter above, maybe a meter above the head, sure, but like how many times have I run this? It's like
Yeah, or even just it's just some
yeah.
kind of badge that's exactly. So I think that'd be really neat.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
Garrasar, how about you now that your answer was stolen?
Well, I appreciate the time you guys gave me to try to come up with something new. So I came with something, and tell me if this works. So with a currency, you're able to buy a specialized a keystone modifier. So when you go into a dungeon, so let's say like you said, Cirra, there's on live, there's a set list of what the affixes are going to be. And so what you can do is if you want to, so let's say you're running a week where you get let's say King's Rest, right? You have King's Rest for your keystone, but the affixes don't really work with King's Rest. You're just going to end up depleting the stone. Like you don't want to run it because it's just going to be a dog's breakfast. So what you can do is you can buy another item, and it's a modifier on the affixes, where you can pick one affix that you can change, but you don't get to pick what it changes to at RNGs. So it could turn back to what you didn't want, or it could be something completely even worse. But it allows you to still run a dungeon that you may have preferred not to have run that. So rather than like absolutely depleting the key because you don't want to run it whatsoever because it's going to be a dog's breakfast, you can run the dungeon and if you get a really horrible affix, you can always just walk out anyways, right? You're going to burn the keystone anyways, so whatever. But it gives you a chance to still run it.
It's something that's similar to what players have asked for with the weekly chest, where, especially with the gear, players have said, if I get a bad piece of gear, it feels bad. Can I have multiple options? And the M+ community has said, I feel the same way about keys. If I get a bad key on a bad week, I feel just it's a dead key. Can I have the option to have two keys and choose between? As somebody who runs community tournaments, to have the ability to choose affixes and dungeons on live, that would be insane, because then I wouldn't have to bug Blizzard and ask them for tournament realm stuff. I could, in theory, do everything on live. But the only negative of that is if you have control, too much control, at that point, the whole idea of the rotating system and different weeks and you having to find ways of dealing with the bad affixes, well, if you just never play them, then Blizzard has dead content.
Yeah.
So I think you probably switching the dungeon, I'd be down for that. If you could go, okay, well, you have to keep the same affixes, but I don't like this dungeon this week, so I can spend X currency and then change it from King's Rest to a Tal. That would be a massive quality of life thing.
So I got to shout out,
especially the high end.
Well, so but this is the thing though, is it's not changing the dungeon. It's just changing. So you pick the affix you don't want. So let's say it's teaming, and you don't want teaming because it's going to be a dog's breakfast. You can pick teaming to not be there, but the replacement for teaming is RNG. So it could be teaming again, or it could be bolstering, or something.
That'd be a feels bad, man. If you're like, I want to get rid of teaming. Something very similar to that actually happened in the KSM tournament that we did. We had this little, very similar to that. We had this corrupted token when Azoth had gifted the teams a token, right? And they could use this token once, and they could switch the dungeon from one dungeon to another dungeon. One of our teams went, you know what, Cita Borealis, don't like it. Not having that. So they coined away from it to a different dungeon. What did the team that was playing them do in the next round? They used their coin to bring Siege back in.
That's right.
And go, no. You're gonna play that dungeon. And just people's faces if they had that system and they were like, I'm getting rid of teaming with my coins. They spend their coins, and then they re-roll and the icon comes up. It's like, you got teaming again. That'd be priceless.
It's RNG though, right?
That'd be wonderful.
That's right. I gotta shout out Rich Campbell has a really good idea for this that I like, where what you do is you tie these into professions, to where you make professions essentially allow you to be able to augment or amend your keystones, which I think would be a great addition, because the game would benefit so much from having professions mean something.
I like it.
Like in classic, professions mean a lot.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Anything we can do to make live more like classic?
Not anything. That's a dangerous blanket statement.
And end the grind. All right. Well, how about let's get into our WoW PvP news and let's roll this out, because we're hitting time limits here.
Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
Let's go.
All right. So into our WoW PvP news, what's happened recently? There was the NA and EU Week 2 over at the Methhead Mayhem.
Yes! We're making it a thing!
So on the 7th of March,
congrats
to the boys for winning that once again. So kudos to them. And Wildcard Gaming for winning EU Week number 2 last weekend. And again, out to Method EU for winning the Keystone Masters, which we've been talking about pretty much all evening. That's good. And there are some hot fixes. One that kind of was snuck under the radar, the Ashran, the Epic BG. Blizzard has reduced the raid size down from 40-person down to 25-person to help with some of the performance issues. Now, this is apparently a temporary band-aid while they figure out ways to improve the performance, the lag, and whatnot, and then they'll bring it back up to 40. Pardon me?
Like a new expansion?
Maybe. Horrific Visions will now drop a guaranteed corrupted item. So before they weren't always doing that. They changed that, which is awesome, I think. That definitely helps with some people that were aiming for certain corruptions and not always getting them. This is a neat one. Because we saw this in the Method Mayhem series, and they're not going to be able to do this anymore. The Twisted Appendages can no longer gain Power Word Shield or Earthen Wall. Dun-dun-dun. Yes, you can kill them without them being buffed. Now, also, now this is good though. That they also changed the procs per minute. So the Twisted Appendages and the Infinite Stars in PvP will not proc more than once every 12 seconds, which was that kind of gets rid of some of that RNG you're talking about there, Winston.
Yeah,
the stuff
you just
you're
get
not liking.
tentacle. Oh gosh.
Yep.
Yeah.
And technical bubble. Oh, I'm dead. Anyway. And then there's a small other little announcement, something about account-wide essences. Well, kinda.
What am I gonna do with all my alts now as I wait for, Shadowlands to hit? This is terrible.
Wait, you're waiting for Shadowlands to hit? I thought you were just playing Classic.
Definitely
you just
now.
called them out. That's awesome.
All my account. No, I'm totally poking at the fact that we've been asking for this for a very long time, and yes. I actually saw some things on Twitter of people being like, I was really enjoying grinding out my essences on all my alts.
Yeah, right.
And it's just like, poor Blizzard. They just can't win.
They still need to grind a bit, though. So what they decided to do is you can grind out a currency that you can use with Mother in the Heart of Azure, in the Chamber of the Heart, to buy essences that you already have level 3 or higher on on. They say you're a main, but it's the
highest
character
level.
that you probably play the most. Yeah.
Yep,
So
your most progressed character.
Yeah.
I think that's a good fix.
Yeah.
You know.
So apparently, just
Once you
doing regular
max it.
content in about a week, you should be able to get yourself an essence, which is better than having to deal with RNG and hoping that you get it or do all the grinding you don't want to do. So, anyways, so super quick and easy, awesome sauce. I think quick shoutouts though. Cirra, do you have any shoutouts?
I mean, shout outs to the KSM team and the people who sponsored the KSM event. Big kudos to them. Had an absolute blast. Thank you to everyone who was involved in that. Those would be my shout outs for this.
Awesome. Yes, indeed. And Andelin, do you have any shoutouts?
No, I gave mine already to Rich Campbell for the awesome idea with professions.
Indeed. Winstead.
Comrades of Warcraft Radio, I would like to give special shout out to all of our patrons who help make this possible. Spasibo.
Indeed. And I'm going to give a shout out to Zen again for running me through a plus 15 that I had no business in being in, as well as the poor fire mage that also out DPS anything I could have come up with. I think I barely creeped over top of the tank a couple times. So thank you for the carry, guys. All right, Cirra, where can people find you?
People can find me at KSM Cirra on Twitter, or just look for Keystone Masters. I am involved with that on Twitter and on Twitch as well.
Yes.
Awesome.
Excellent. And congratulations on all the success, and thanks for coming on to join us to talk about it. My eyes have been opened.
Yeah, absolutely. I do remember chatting with you in our early days of Resurgent, where we were kind of like, oh, these guys are trying to do what we're trying to do, except in MDI, and you guys were telling us a little bit about how you we had this idea, and it's really cool to see where things come and where they just how time does its thing. It's so cool. So
interesting. It's always interesting how people get the same ideas but in different ways, and then it's interesting how it kind of comes to fruition. How about this? Winstead, can you list off to our listeners where they can find us?
Sure. You can visit Warcraft Radio website to find us and many other great shows at warcraftradio.com.
You can also contact us directly with a tweet to @technically_PvP or an email at technicallypvp@gmail.com.
Indeed. And you can also join our discussions over at the Warcraft Radio Discord. And links for all these are going to be on our show notes. I want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye.